We'll start with the prayers. Om Sahana Bhavato Sahanau Bhunakto Sahaviryam Karavavahe Tejasvinavaditamastu ma vidvishavahaihi. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. We continue our study for Panchadasi, chapter 1, Tattva Viveka Prakaranam, 65 verses, and we are in the 8th verse. This chapter focuses on revelation of our real nature as revealed in Taittiriya Upanishad. The terms used in Taittiriya Upanishad in the 2nd chapter, the 1st section, the 1st verse is Satyam Jnanam Anantam. We have analyzed the Sat portion, we have analyzed the Chit portion. Now we are analyzing the Ananda portion. Always remember, the entire study of Panchadasi or the Upanishads is about our own self. Never lose that point, that this entire study is meant for me to understand my nature as Advaitam. Advaita means I alone am there. In deep sleep state, I alone am there. That experience, which is my true experience, they are not talking of the deep sleep state experience. Beyond the deep sleep state, there is another experience which is called as Brahma experience. The 3 states belong to the mind, but beyond the mind is my real nature. The mind will come and go. The states are coming and going. What arrives and departs is Dvaitam. Try to understand these 2 words because they are the root, they are the means to understand my real nature. Dvaitam, Advaitam. This has to sink in your mind. Only then these verses of what the real content of these verses will make an impact on you. Satyam means it exists in 3 periods of time. Chit or Chaitanya means it's of the nature of consciousness, awareness. So my real nature is pure awareness, in which I don't experience this body or the mind or the world of Panchabhutas. This aspect must be very clear to you. We are not talking about our experience in the waking state. We are not talking about our experience in the dream state. We are not talking about our experience in the sleep state. But what is the adhishtanam for these 3 states? To come and go, to come and go. That is the revelation of the Upanishads, and that is the revelation of this 1st chapter. Now let us go to the 8th verse, which we started last week. The 8th, 9th verse, these 2 verses are talking about the 3rd word called as Ananda. How Ananda is taken up for analysis by Swami Vidyaranya is what we are studying in these two verses. The 10th verse is a summary of the previous 4, 5, 6 verses. Let's just go through this verse, the chanting of this verse.
Iyama paranandah, iyamatma paranandah, parapremaspadam yatah, parapremaspadam yatah, manabhuvam hi bhuyasam, manabhuvam hi bhuyasam, iti prematmanikshate, iti prematmanikshate.
Vidyaranya says that our nature, real nature is Ananda Swarupaha. Ananda means it's ever blissful, ever joyous. That is our real nature. But now and then I experience sorrow. So what he says is, don't look at experiential joy or experiential sorrow. They are arriving and departing. What doesn't arrive and what doesn't depart is our Atma. And the nature, the intrinsic nature of that is joy, bliss. So in this verse, he says that the object of greatest love, for example, we love so many things in the world, but then they are graded love. We know there are 3 grades of love in this objective world: Priya, Moda, Pramoda. That is what is described in Taittiriya Upanishad. But beyond these 3 is ungraded love, unconditional love. The most important point in these 2 verses, or these 2 verses you should remember, is the love for objects in the world is conditional. This point you should always remember, because if you don't understand this, then you will not understand the deep significance of these 2 verses. Whereas the love for the self is unconditional. This is the essence of Taittiriya Upanishad verses which deal with Ananda. So what should you remember? This love for objects in the world, human beings in the world, is conditional. What is the condition? They should give me happiness. The moment they start giving me sorrow, including my body or mind, then it will not be an object of love for me. That is one point. The second point I should understand is, love means, how does love express in the world? Because love means I want to live forever. I want to exist forever. So if you ask anyone in the world, this is a very universal expression. I want to live. I want to be happy throughout my life. And I want to live as many, many, many years in this world. So this is what Vidyaranya is bringing out in this verse. Yam Atma. Yam Atma means this consciousness, this self, is the ultimate perceiver and ultimate subject. When you say aham, I, there are 2 eyes. One eye is a waker, dreamer, sleeper eye, which is coming and going. There is another eye, which is consciousness eye, which is not arriving and departing. It is always there. So here we are talking about the consciousness eye, the Sakshi eye. This Sakshi I is a permanent knower. Whether objects are there or whether objects are not there, this consciousness never becomes non-existent. Try to understand this sentence which I said. The body and the mind becomes existent in the waking state. In the dream state, this body and this mind is not there. And then also in the sleep state. Whereas the dream body is not there in the waking state. So what is this? So in order to understand the self, one has to go beyond this body. And the only way to do that is analyze the nature of the three states. The senses, they come to be known by the mind. That means I don't experience this world continuously throughout, even though it appears as if I just go to sleep and I wake up in the morning and I see this world. That is how our experience is, that we are continuously living. But what Vidyarthana says is, try to understand the subtle difference between the entire state itself is coming and going. This we have seen in Drigdrishya Viveka, that the objects are known by the senses are known by the mind, and the mind is known by Sakshi. So mind is also an object, the sense organs are also, mind is also an object of Sakshi, the world is an object for the sense organs. What remains unknown, unobjectified, is this self. We cannot say that the self doesn't exist. There is a very beautiful analysis made in Mandukya Upanishad. Right in the beginning of Mandukya Upanishad, Gaudapadacharya and Shankaracharya, especially the commentary, in the introduction itself, Shankaracharya says, never negate the existence of the self. Why he says this? Because if you negate the self, then you yourself are not existent. You become non-existent. So normally we think that death means non-existence because we don't see this body. So not experiencing this body doesn't mean I don't exist. How? What is the proof? In sleep state. In sleep state, I don't experience the body, but I do exist. See, that is the difference between appearance and existence. The moment you are able to see the subtle difference between appearance of the body and the mind and the world and the existence of the self, then you will understand this very, very easily. That self is Swayam Prabha. Swayam Prabha means what? It is self-evident. It doesn't require any medium for existence. It can't objectify itself. There is no proof of existence for this pure self. It is self-exist. How do I know that it exists? The only pramanam is Shastra pramanam. Shastra says that for this changing world, there has to be an adhisthana. Any change requires a substratum. That substratum is called as the self. Even though I cannot see the self, hear the self, that is what we are going to do in meditation today. We don't see the self, hear the self, but We know that we exist. That pure self is the object of self-love. Parananda. Parananda means it is a absolute ananda. And why is this the supreme ananda? Because it is consciousness is a nature and it is an object of supreme affection, unconditional love. We don't love our body very much, our mind very much, because sometimes they give pain to us. We marry for love. We divorce also for love, because marriage causes pain, therefore we want to divorce. But in all this, what do we love first? Our love for our own self doesn't change. We perceive this love for our own self throughout our life. And that expresses as, let me be there, let me be there. That is what is called as pure existence. I am existence principle, I am Sat principle. That existence principle is of the nature of Ananda. That is what we have to remember in these two verses. Even people who want to commit suicide, they commit suicide because they love to be happy. They feel that by committing a suicide or by euthanasia, they will live, but the body is not there. So that at no point we want to be non-existent. We always want to be there. We are. Why is that? Because our nature is like that. That is what is called as Swarupa. So let me be there all the time is our prayer to the Lord. And this self transcends the space and time. It is timeless, it is spaceless. Therefore, the love for ourselves is eternal. This is how Narada Bhakti Sutra, this particular verse, for those who have done Narada Bhakti Sutras, which is a complete text which describes bhakti. In that bhakti, there is a very deep analysis of love. And this love doesn't change. Changeless love. Morning also I love myself. Afternoon also I love. Yesterday, today, 1 year ago, 2 years ago, in future also. This love doesn't change for the self. Whether I live, this is time-wise. Space-wise, suppose I live in Singapore or USA or in India or anywhere in Japan, wherever it is. I love myself, and that love for the self is changeless. Normally, the two words Sat and Chit are quite easy to understand. But for understanding Ananda, it needs a little bit of thinking, and you have to apply it to yourself and then see these statements. So that is what we have seen in this verse. This is just a revision. So I want to be forever indicates my love for the self, indicates that the nature of the self is bliss. And this self is the object of supreme affection. I may love the objects in the world, but it is not supreme because it is conditional. Okay. In the next verse, the second part of this Ananda is described. I love others because I love myself. Suppose I don't love myself, there will not be love for others also. That is the second argument which Vidyaranya gives in the 9th verse. Let's see that.
तत् प्रेमात्मार्थमन्यत्र तत् प्रेमात्मार्थमन्यत्र नैव मन्यार्थमात्मनि नैव मन्यार्थमात्मनै अतस्तत् परमं तेन अतस्तत् परमं तेन परमानन्दतात्मनः परमानन्दतात्मनः.
Here, Vidyaranya states a fact. What is a fact? I love others. Others are loved by me because they give love to me. They give love to me means what? They give love to the self. So for the purpose of the love of the self, for the sake of the self, I love others. So ultimately, I may say I love my son, I love my wife, and I may show expressions. But ultimately, what is the significance behind that is what Vidyaranya is trying to tell. Because we feel that others are giving me love. The moment they stop giving me love to myself, to the higher I, what happens? Then they are not object of love. Brihadaranyaka Upanishad, this particular mantra explains very beautifully the nature of the self. Yajnavalkya tells his wife this brutal fact that we love others because I love myself. The love for my son, the love for my wife is because I love myself first. So if you read this verse properly, comes in Yajnavalkya Maitreyi Samvada. And this is where the famous shloka which says that the self, okay, this is the nature of the self. But how do I understand the self is what Maitreyi, the wife, asks. Can you tell me how do this, you're talking so much about this self. It is nature of love, it is bliss and so on. But tell me one thing, how do I get that experience? And then the Yajnavalkya tells his wife that it is a 3-step process. Shravanam, Mananam, Nididhyasana. That is what he says in the end of this verse. And he says, you have to go through the Shastra. Without Shastra, discovery of the self is impossible. So indirectly, what is the teaching to us? If you just sit down quietly and keep asking, who am I, who am I, who am I, you will never reach yourself. You have to bring the Upanishads, the Brahma Sutra, the Bhagavad Gita. These are the 3 texts you have to bring in between and take out the knowledge which is there in these 3 books to realize the self. Okay, so that is the essence behind this particular verse. Wife is dear for the love of our own self. Children are dear to us because they bring love to myself. I can express you see, the objects, they come in front of us as per prarabdha karma. This is another beautiful point. How come suddenly some things happen outside? No, it is not a sudden thing. It is all very, very beautifully planned. This creation is extremely well planned creation. And it goes exactly as per the laws. There are certain laws which cannot be violated, like the planet's movements. They are laws. This creation is run by laws. And the laws are the mind of Hiranyagarbha, the total mind. That mind is behind this entire creation. So once you are transcending to the self and you realize, oh, you have realized how to, in your own intellect, if you are able to drop the body and mind, then you start realizing this whole creation is nothing but Ishvara Srishti. We have seen this in the previous chapter, Ishvara Srishti, Jiva Srishti. So this, to realize this aspect of Ananda, what it means is you cannot love anything in the world which does not give joy to you. The moment it doesn't give joy to you, that is the condition. That is why I said you should remember conditional love, unconditional love. Why do we say unconditional love is for the Atma only in this universe? Because it is beyond space and time. Whether anything is existing or not, at any point of time, I love myself. I want to be forever. I exist. I am of the nature of consciousness, awareness. So these three words, you can apply it in the seed of meditation. I am of the nature of Sat Chit Ananda. And you can try to test yourself whether this pure self is an object of love or not. Why people can meditate for 4 hours, 2 hours, 3 hours? Because it gives the joy of the self. They are able to transcend the body and mind and just be with the self. For hours together, people can sit down. So these are all experiences to prove that I love myself, and this love for myself is the highest. Parama Prema Rupa. So this is what I was explaining before. Love for myself is without any reason. That is our experience. It is universal. It is experienced universally by all. I think we understand this verse now fairly easily. And the reason also why we love ourselves is also clear. These are slides which explain what I have explained to you verbally. So the supreme blissness of the Atma is established in these 2 verses. In chapter 12 of Panchadasi, in fact, the whole section from 11 to 15 is Ananda Swarupaha. The last 5 chapters of Panchadasi is talking about this. It expands on this topic of Ananda. So for those who are interested in this particular topic can go through those 4 or 5 chapters, but I'm just telling you that this is the way because this aspect of Ananda is magnified in those 5 chapters. Very, very large number of verses are there on this particular topic itself. But here, 2 verses have been devoted for Ananda. Next verse. This is a summary.
इत्थं सच्चित् परानन्द इत्यं सच्चित् परानन्द आत्मा युक्त्या तथाविधम् आत्मा युक्त्या तथाविधम् परं ब्रह्मा तयोश्चैक्यम् परं ब्रह्मा ततोश्चैक्यम् श्रुत्यन्तेषु पदिश्यते श्रुत्यं तेषु पदिश्यते.
Now, Vidyaranya is summarizing, and he is telling us an important point here. What he's saying is, don't stop with your experience and say, I am of the nature of Satchid Ananda. That is the first step, but it is not the end. It is not the last step in moksha prapti. What you have to understand is that this Satchidananda, which is a nature of myself, my real nature, it is the nature of the entire universe, which is called as Brahman. Self in this body is called as Atma. The self, which is the Atma of this entire universe, is called as Brahmatma. The identity of the two, that means the self in this body and the self in the entire universe, is the same. That is the central theme of all the Upanishads. It's called as Jiva Brahma Aikyam. That is what Vidyaranya wants to say in this particular verse. We have seen this in the study of Upanishads, in the study of the Mahavakya in chapter 5. We have seen this aspect of Atma and Brahman. He's just reminding us here in this particular verse. Ittam Satchit Para Ananda Atma Yuktya. In this way, through logic, you understand the nature of consciousness, the nature of existence, and the nature of Ananda. So, with the help of this, what is your conclusion? That the self, the higher nature of my higher nature, which is Atma, is of the nature of three words, Sat, Chit, Anand. Tat Tata Vidham Param Brahma. In the same way is the nature of Brahman. What is Brahman? It is infinite reality. Brihatvat Brahma. It is the ultimate truth. Ultimate truth means what? Between this universe and me, there is some connection. That connection is established by the word Brahman. And that nature of that Brahman is nothing but this Satchidananda Atma. That is what is said in the Taittiriya Upanishad, the second chapter, the first verse, which is mentioned below here. Brahma vida apnoti param tadesham yuktam satyam jnanam anantam brahma yo vedanitam guhayam parame yoman soshnute sarvan kaman saha brahmana vipaschiteti. In about 1 or 2 sessions from now, in the next probably in the next week, not this week, I'll be taking the Shankaracharya's Bhashya, commentary on this verse, for the Saturday class. My Saturday class is on Upanishads. Currently, I'm doing Taittiriya Upanishad. So I'm towards the 3rd chapter of Taittiriya Upanishad, which I will try to finish this Saturday. But next week, I will be taking a Bhashya. Bhashya means it is a commentary of Shankaracharya on this verse. It's a very, very long commentary. Very long. My notes on that runs to about 300 slides, like this. 300. On what? One verse. My entire second chapter and third chapter of Bhashyam is 1,700 pages. So on one verse, Shankaracharya has written such a lot of meaning, commentary. Because this particular verse is the central theme of not only Taittiriya Upanishad, but any Upanishad, any text you did study, it is a central theme of all the 15 chapters of the Panchadasi. What does it say? That Brahman, that pure Satchidananda Brahman, the means to that, to realize that, is Omkara analysis. That is the first thing which is said here. The means to Brahman, means to realization is, what is the means? How do I reach that self? The Upanishad says, do Omkara analysis. What is Omkara analysis? It is the analysis of waking, dream, deep sleep. Where do I reach? What is the goal of this analysis? In my own intellect, yo veda nihitam guhaya, in my own intellect, parame vyoman means in my own chid akasha, in my mind, in the space of my own intellect. Outside is akasha, it is bhut akasha. But inside the mind, it is called as chid akasha. In that chid akasha, I can realize this Brahman. And what is the nature of that is mentioned in the second line. Satyam Jnanam Anantam Brahma. And what is the significance of these three words? In Panchadasi, in the first chapter, we have done 10 verses. The summary of the entire analysis of Shankaracharya is what we have done. But the way Shankaracharya deals with these three words is really amazing. I mean, if you really want to know the depth of these three words, Satchidananda, you have to go through the commentary of Shankaracharya. Like how you go through the commentary of Mandukya Upanishad to understand our three states. Similarly, going through commentaries is something which is unique. I can't describe to you to what extent your mind can reach that self through the commentary. Okay, Satyam is Nityam and Nityam is Satyam. Satyam means what? Nityam. Nityam means ever existent principle. So I am not this body which is coming and going, which has got birth and death, but I am beyond this body and mind, which is what is called as pure self. There is only one thing Nityam in this world. Nityam means existing changelessly all the time. And what is the nature of that self? Jnanam, consciousness, awareness. Nobody can say, I did not exist yesterday. I did not exist 5 years ago. Nobody can say, because our experience is, I exist, I exist, I exist. That is what is being brought about by these three words. And Ananta means it is beyond time, beyond space. It is of the nature of love. Brihadaranyaka Upanishad also talks about the same subject matter, that Satyam Jnanam is nothing but it is our nature. this particular verse of 3rd chapter, 9th section, Vijnanam Anandam Brahma. Vijnanam here stands for consciousness. It's another name for consciousness. Anandam means the name for consciousness. So Vijnanam and Anandam, they are the two names of consciousness. Another verse of Bradhanika Upanishad, Swayam Jyoti Brahmana, is this the self is the same changelessly. It exists in the waking, dream, and deep sleep state. And this self has its own light. That is why it is called as Swayam Jyoti. This 4th chapter is called as Swayam Jyoti Brahmana. Between Atma and Brahman, there is oneness. That oneness is called as Aikyam. It is both being of the same nature. That means a higher level, this entire world which we see, the divisions which we see, they all merge into one homogeneous principle which is called as Satchidananda. Okay, that's what it means as. What do you mean by Aikyam? Aikyam means oneness. This can be understood only by a pure mind. Pure mind means what? A mind which has gone through the process of Shravanam and Mananam. That is why we do a lot of study of Upanishads. We do the study of Panchadasi because I'm making my mind subtler and subtler. I have to go beyond space. Space is Eka Rasam, one and same. There is no division in space. Similarly, Atma, in Atma and in Brahman, there is no division. Atma is Brahman, Brahman is Atma. That means there is no division in Satchidananda Atma. Chandogya Upanishad also talks about realize that self. Again and again it says, Tattvamasi, Tattvamasi. 9 times the teacher tells the student. Don't worry, you have not understood first time, doesn't matter. Study again, meditate, contemplate, satisfy your own intellect. Oh, Shvetaketu is the student there. This is the self. This is the self. That is what the teacher says. Ekam eva advitiyam. Ekam means it is one principle. There is nothing else apart from that. That is why it is called as non-dual. It is called as Advaitam. Advaitam means what? Non-dual. Non-dual means what? It is my own nature. What about the Dvaitam which I see in the waking state and in the dream state, the Dvaitam which I see? The Upanishads say it is a seeming Dvaitam. It is not a real Dvaitam. The higher you go in Vedanta, these two words will be used again and again. Dvaitam, Advaitam. Dvaitam, Advaitam. So the advanced study of Vedanta is on these two principles. Ekam eva advitiyam. That is what it says in this Chandogya Upanishad mantra. What is the self? Ekam. One. Eva. Eva means it is alone. Advitiyam means non-dual. There's a lot of commentary behind this Tattvamasi also in Chandogya Upanishad. And this homogeneity or oneness is what we are supposed to experience in our meditation. Upadishyate. Upadishyate means it is being taught in all the Upanishad. This is the Vishaya of the entire Vedanta. What is the subject matter? Subject matter is one self alone exists in this universe. To realize that only we are doing all this study. One self, and that self is called as Atma. And that nature of that self is Satchidananda. Upadesha Sara, the 25th verse, it says, one who gives up the conditioning, he alone gains the self. Vesha Anataha Swatma Darshanam. Vesha Anata means what? You have to intellectually try to learn to drop your body identification. How do you do that? You compare your nature in the dream state. Compare, not in the actual going, by going to the dream state. In the waking state, you think, what is my nature in the sleep state? What is my nature in the dream state? Who am I? Isha Darshanam Swatma Rupataha. The vision of that Lord, who is the controller, who is the Adhishtanam, who is the inner essence of this whole universe, that nature of that Ishvara is Satchidananda. By knowing Ishvara, I can realize my nature also. That is why they say, know God and then you will know yourself. You know yourself and you can know the nature of the God. That is the essence behind all Upanishads. By contemplating on the Atma, we develop a sharp, pure mind. And only a pure mind will be able to glide into the nature of Atma. Okay, so that is what is the is been said so far in the 10 verses. Sat is I am. Chit is my experience as self, which is I am. Ananda is not evident, but it is logically proved by our experiences. That is what we have done in verses 8, 9, and 10. Okay, so this is, there are two arguments for the self being of the Swarupa of Ananda. One argument is we all desire to be ever there. Okay, this is just a revision. And the second argument is the love for the external world is because the love is for the self. These are the two arguments we have seen in our analysis of Ananda. If you want to go deeper, you can just study these two blocks here. Why am I searching for love in the external objects? Because I am of the nature of bliss. I don't want to lose this bliss ever. See, throughout our life, what disturbs this bliss is prarabdha. Prarabdha brings situations outside. So nobody loses this self because that is the nature. But what we experience in life is the result of karma phala. That comes in by way of what? By way of thoughts in the mind. The thoughts in the mind are the result of past karma. So if you understand you are of the nature of bliss, you will stop seeking external happiness. You will remain in your own nature as Satchit Ananda Swarupa. Ajnani cannot experience this Atma Ananda. Why? Because he is Ajnani. He has not studied the Upanishads. He has not studied Panchadasi. So what is the advantage of doing texts like Panchadasi, these texts? It tells me my nature is pure awareness. My nature is pure existence. My nature is pure bliss. Bliss means what? I don't have any limitations. How do I experience limitations? The moment I forget my nature, that I am this self, what happens to me? I start looking outside in the world for that same experience. What is my experience? I am of the nature of bliss. But what I do, I instead of looking inside me, I try to look outside because the sense organs have an attraction towards the sense objects. Can I stop this? I cannot stop it because that is law of karma. What can I do? Learn the Upanishads, come to this Atma deep within us, and try to abide in the self. Self, when you abide in the self, that is what is called as moksha. So now you can see the difference. My nature is Satchidananda. See, I've gone very deep in this topic. My nature is Satchidananda. This is how Shankaracharya explains in that Taittiriya Bhashya. My nature is what? Satchidananda. What am I experiencing? Sorrow. Why do I experience sorrow? It is a law of karma. The body, mind, and the world is as per the law of karma. This you can only see, this vision you can only see only when you have the knowledge of the Upanishads. Upanishads, what do they tell me? I am pure awareness. But today, what do I think? I am the body, I am the mind. Mind keeps on bringing thoughts continuously throughout my life. I want this, I want that, I want this, I want that, I have to do that, I have to do this. I'm a karta, bhokta, karta, bhokta. Karta means doer of action. Bhokta means enjoyer of the results of the action. Throughout my life, I'm that. So Vidyaranya says, try to learn to be in your own nature. And that is the road to being happy in life. We will we'll do this question about, okay, I'll just go read out, I'll just play this verse and then we'll see the analysis of this verse next week. But let me just introduce this topic of verse number 11.
अभानेन परं प्रेम अभानेन परं प्रेम भानेन विषये स्पृहा भानेन विषये स्पृहा अतो भानेप्यभातासौ अतो भानेप्यभातासौ परमानन्दतात्मनः परमानन्दतात्मनः.
Now Vidyaranya starts a new topic and he is asking a question. What is the question? If this supreme bliss of the self is not known by me, okay, you have to understand the question carefully. Does the bliss of self manifest, reveal, experienced or not? There is Atma, but then can I experience that or not? Suppose you say we do experience, and suppose we say we don't experience. We don't experience means it does not manifest at all. What he is saying is, if it is known, there cannot be attraction for worldly objects. Suppose I know that I am of the nature of self. then I will not be attracted to the world. But what is my experience? I am attracted to the world. So why is it that even though my nature is of the self, the nature of self is pure ananda, why do I get attracted to the world? That is what is the question which is asking. Okay, so we'll go through this analysis next week, and this topic runs quite. It will go for quite some time. And next week, I will go through the answer for this question. And today, I will stop here. Okay. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachade Purnasya Purnamadhaya Purnamevavasishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Does anybody have any questions on today's session?
Mr. Shekhar, Jacqueline here.
Yeah, Jacqueline, tell me.
So the thing is, love.
Yes.
For the whole thing is love.
Yes.
And I wanted to ask you. You say the mastermind is the universe.
Yes.
So is the universe the mind or what? Because we know that as an individual, we have this mind, we have this body, but then for universe, is that the mind, the mastermind? Yeah.
Okay, good question. Very good question. See, normally with our eyes, with our sense organs, we can only perceive the gross body and the gross universe. Your mind is not visible to me, but my own mind is known by me. So mind is a subtle substance which is invisible to others. So your question is there a mind behind this universe? Like if somebody were to ask, are you the body or are you the mind? Body is seen. So similarly, when I see this universe, I have to assume that there is a mind behind the universe. See, when I say mind, it means that there is a intelligent cause behind this universe. Behind this body, there is an intelligent cause called as the mind. So what do you mean by intelligent cause? Intelligent cause means it is the one which is making the body alive. There is some principle which is making this body alive. This body is made up of 5 elements. It does not have the power to think, the power to know. It is like the body is exactly like the desk or like the wall. The body is also made up of minerals, the earth element. Inside this body, there is an air element. But what is the difference? The difference is there is something which is knowing, something which is thinking. Behind this body, there is something. So similarly, what the rishis, what the scientists, the subjective scientists, what they came to realize is behind this whole universe, there is an intelligence principle. That intelligence principle is given a name. And that intelligence principle is called as God. Behind this body, there is an intelligence principle. That principle which governs the whole universe is the same principle which is governing this body. That intelligence principle is called as Sat Chit Ananda. That expresses by way of mind in my body. It expresses as the laws of the universe when you look at the gross world. The laws which govern the universe, there's planetary motion, the earth, it is rotating around the sun, and all that, the entire natural forces, you don't see them. Our sense organs are not perceptible enough to realize that. So your question is there mind behind this universe? Yes. By all inferences, you can come to this conclusion. There is when you say mind, you should always say it is an intelligence principle. That's all, and behind that intelligent mind is this consciousness. Our search should not stop only with reference to the intelligence, with the mind aspect of the universe or the mind aspect of this body. Our search should go deeper. How does the mind function? Is there a power behind this mind? The same power is there behind this universe also. There is one power. What is that power which makes the sense organs function? What is the power by which the sense organs go into unmanifest condition? There is one power. That power is what is called as the power of consciousness, the power of the higher self. Okay, so we are talking about going beyond that mind, that intelligent principle, and trying to understand there is one principle, because in the waking state only this world is experienced. There is a power which is causing this waking state, dream state, sleep state. So beyond this mind, beyond this universe, your question should be, is there any power which is ruling this entire universe? Yes. And that is where the search for the self starts. It's a very intelligent question. You have asked me the right question, but then you have to go 2-3 steps ahead. Then you will get the answer to this, at the mind level and all that, it is at a superficial level. But then there is something which is beyond that. And the moment you sit in that position of Atma or the self, and then see, then everything becomes very clear. Because from that fulcrum, that center, the waking state comes and goes, the dream state comes and goes, the whole universe. You see, when we say waking state, always remember this body, gross body, is experienced not by itself. It is always experienced with the universe, the waking universe. So there is a link between this body and the waking world. Similarly, there is a link between the subtle body and the subtle world, the dream state and the dream world. And the third state is very difficult for us to fathom. That is the sleep state. And that sleep state, you see, you cannot reach the self without understanding the 3 states. Shankaracharya the master guru of all Vedas, he is very clear in Mandukya Upanishad. He gives very clearly and he says, you have to reach only with the help of Shastra and with the help of going beyond the sleep state to reach, to know who you are. Anyway, I'll stop here. Hope you have understood, Jacqueline.
Oh, yes, appreciate. That's what I want to say. My mic was off. Appreciate.
Okay, thank you, Jacqueline. Is there anybody else who has any other questions? Okay, there is one question here in the chat box. Are body and mind inseparable, or can the mind exist without a body in a realm of thoughts only? Yeah, it can. Good question again. See, body, when you say body, you are referring to this body, what you are seeing as the gross body. What Vedanta says is, the gross body, which you experience now, is with this universe, with the gross universe. So whenever you see this body, you will always have the experience of the gross world. Now the next question is mind. Can the mind exist without the gross body is what you are asking. Yes. The mind exists without the gross body in our dream state. In our dream state, the link between our mind and this gross body is broken. What then happens? That pure, the spiritual light, which is my real essence, the Atma, is illumining the mind and the thoughts in the mind alone. That means our universe, which we experience in the waking state, is of a certain type. It is always with the physical gross body. But the universe which we experience in our dream state is purely with the subtle body. So this gross body and the mind can be broken up. There is a link which is broken up in the dream state. Then there is a third state. The third state is, in the sleep state, that link between that Atma, the pure spirit in me, and the subtle body is broken. Like the waker's body and this mind, that link is broken. What happens is, the link between the self, the Atma, the spiritual nature of mind, that Satchidananda, whatever is what we are saying, that link with the mind is broken. When that link with the mind is broken, what happens? That is what is called as the sleep state. But that is not the end of it. What I have to ask the question is, this is how the world is. For you, me, for everybody, this is the way the structure of the world is. We go through these three experiences. All of us go through these three experiences. So I have answered your question about what you are asking about the mind and the body. Now I want you to go a little bit further. When the mind is alone in the dream state, the question you should ask is, what is the light in which that mind is seen? That light in which the mind is seen is called as the light of Atma. And this light of Atma never ends. This is the spiritual light. It is there in the waking, but I don't know. Why I don't know? Because I'm always looking at the gross body, gross world, gross body, gross world. I get up in the morning, I want to see, I want to do 100 things in my life today. So my mind is only focused on the external world. What the Upanishads reveal to me is, in all my study of Upanishads and Panchadasi, what I try to understand is, I try to understand the body. Now it is very easy for you. The gross body you have understood, you can drop it off in the waking state. Then in the dream state, you have now understood the mind is only working. And the mind is throwing up a world of its own. So there is a world which is created by the mind in the dream. Some world is created. It's very hazy. But the mind creates a world. This waking state is coming and going. Exactly like what? Like the dream state. The dream state was there yesterday. It was there 1 week ago also. Some dream came, some dream went. What they say is the waking world and the dream world are very similar in nature. Only thing is, in the waking world, the mind is also there. The light of consciousness is also illumining the same mind which is there in the dream state also. I'm going a little bit deeper into your question. What happens in the waking state is the sense organs are open. The sense organs are perceiving the world. So, if I can learn that even in the waking state, that light of consciousness is the one which is illumining my thoughts, even in the waking state, that light never changes. For example, you have emotions. You feel sometimes love for some people. You feel passionate about certain things. You want to cook certain things. There are thoughts in the mind throughout the day. So during all this time, there is a changeless Atma, the changeless light, which continues. In the sleep state, it was there. In the sleep state, it reveals that there is no external world. What is the sleep state? What is our experience in the sleep state? I alone am there, and there is no external world. See, you may say that the body is there, but body is there only from the waking state point of view. See, you are awake, therefore you are seeing the body. So in the sleep state, I alone am there as that spiritual light. And if you are able to discern, or you're able to, in your mind is able to think of these three states in the way I have told you now, you can play this question and answer again and again and try to understand what I said. Then what will happen? Slowly, I will realize that nature without this gross body is my real nature. That is the essence of all our study. Whatever we want to study, the essence of all this is what the scriptures are telling me, that what I'm taking today as me is really not me. It is a phenomena which is happening. So I learned to drop this phenomena and I go back to my core of self. So slowly your mind will definitely learn how to do this. As you hear more and more, your mind will grow. And as your mind grows, whatever I'm telling you now will make sense to you. Okay? Thank you, Nita. Does a self-realized person see all, or does he see nothing? Okay. See, whenever you see, when you are the self-realized person, okay, that's again a very nice question. What is the meaning of self-realization? This is a very, very big question to answer, but to put it in a nutshell, a person who realizes his self, any person, suppose you say, I have realized my nature. What does he see? This is answered in the Upanishad itself. In the Upanishad, Pradanaka Upanishad, there's a verse which says that when the self is there, it is all alone. All alone means it alone is. Just take your mind to the sleep state. To the sleep state, the self is there. It is existent principle. What is your experience in this sleep state? I alone am there. There is no world. The problem is that we all have ignorance. We have self-ignorance. So that self-ignorance is what we are trying to drop by gaining this knowledge. Okay? So a self-realized person, direct answer to the question is, does he see nothing or does he see all? He sees nothing in the state of self-realization, because there is no other second thing in Atma. That is why it is called as non-dual, Advaita. Advaitam means non-dual. It alone is. As you learn more and more Upanishad, this particular point will become repeatedly, the Upanishad will tell you. Every Upanishad is describing this only. And as your mind becomes more and more subtle. Subtle means, what I'm saying is, becomes more and more mature in learning the Veda, you will be able to also experience the same what any other person has realized in his life, the self, because the self has not changed. You are only removing all the coverings. You remove the covering of the gross body, drop it. You remove the covering of the mind, drop it. You remove the covering of the ignorance in the sleep state, that I am not there, world is not there. That ignorance you drop. What will you have? You have removed the words. What remains is the self alone. That is what you have to reach. Now, does the self-realized person see nothing or everything? This is another great question. The self-realized person sees everything because everything is nothing but the self alone. Because from this self only the whole thing has come. Does the waker see the dream world, or he sees nothing now? The waker, at the moment he sees no world, no dream world, because he is in the waking state. Similarly, when you are in the self-realized state, you don't see this world as it is. You see, I alone am. You realize the self-realization is what? I alone am. Okay? These are very deep questions. I'm sure, I'm very glad you asked them, because they lead you to thinking in the right direction. Okay, any other questions from others?
Shekhar, I would ask you whether in the dream state, our vasanas get exhausted or not.
Yes, yes, yes. They get exhausted because in the deep sleep state, what happens is it is a break where your punyam and papam are not fructifying. You see, the thought is nothing but a punyam or a papam fructifying. That is what we call it as prarabdha. The whole life is nothing but it is an experience of punyam and papam. In the sleep state, what happens? It is a rest. It is a period, it's a time of rest. The prarabdha also decides whether you will have a good sleep or a bad sleep. You see, the prarabdha gets exhausted. Prarabdha is not only experiencing this sorrow or joy, it is also experiencing the vasana in which neither there is sorrow, neither there is joy. You are with yourself.
Oh,
So there is a vasana which is getting exhausted. Your question is, in the sleep state, is the vasana getting exhausted or not? Right?
yeah.
Vasanas possible to get fructified in the waking state. Normally, they say in the waking state and in the dream state, they get fructified, they get exhausted. But in the sleep state, normally they will say that you are at rest. That means your body and mind are at rest. Therefore, you are in your own swarupa.
State.
You are in your own nature.
Okay.
There is no question of any vasana coming because vasana is in a dormant condition. It is in an unmanifest condition. In the waking state, the vasanas, they come into manifest condition. In the dream state, the vasanas come into manifest condition. Okay?
Okay.
So in the deep sleep state, they are in the unmanifest condition. Vasanas are in unmanifest condition. There is no exhaustion of vasanas in the deep sleep state. Okay, okay, is there any other questions?
In the meditative state, we can say that Agami and Sanchit Karma that gets exhausted.
Yes.
So that's the. Now, I just want something specific. Do the dream state is also because of the prarabdha?
Oh, yes, of course.
Dream state also is because of.
100%. Yes, 100%.
Yeah.
You see,
Yeah.
that is why we say that some of the vasanas, they get exhausted in the dream state.
Yeah, yeah.
See, the only difference between the dream state and the waking state is the sense organs are functioning in the waking state. The sense organs are shut in the dream state.
Dream state.
Ah, yeah, you're right.
The only difference.
Yeah, I mean
that is why in many of the texts, they say that the waking state and dream state are the same.
correct, yeah.
Your mind is active in the waking state, your mind is active in the dream state. Only thing is the objects which you see in the waking state are bhautikam. Bhautikam means you experience the world of 5 elements outside the mind in the waking state. In the dream state, all the objects are nothing but created out of your own mind.
Yeah, I mean, it's a communication between subconscious state to conscious mind.
It is an in-between state from the pure consciousness to the full consciousness in the waking. You see, in the waking state, what happens? The consciousness spreads from the mind to the sense organs and then to the external world. That is the waking state. Dream state is the consciousness only comes up to the mind level. It doesn't go to the sense organs level. It doesn't go to the objective world. The consciousness is reaching only half the journey. And that is what is called, it is a state in which some of the prarabdha karmas are exhausted.
It's also like a sort of emotions and vasanas.
Yes, exactly like in the waking state, you feel happy, you feel sorrowful, right?
Yeah. All the hallucinations and all, yeah.
Yeah. Whatever you experience in the waking state, you experience sorrow, you experience joy. Similarly, in some of the dreams, you experience very happy dream. In some of the dream, you experience sorrow also. In the dream, you have some sorrowful experiences, some joyful experiences. So our goal should be to understand more and more the self which is experienced in the sleep state. All of us, that is what Shankaracharya says in Mandukya, he says that we all have got two experiences. One experience is in the sleep state. That sleep state experience is called as Advaita experience. Advaita experience means non-dual. There is no duality experienced in the sleep state. Whereas in the waking and dream, there is duality. What is real? Is duality real or is non-duality real? The whole Mandukya Upanishad and the Karikas, the 215 verses which analyze our three states. The purpose of that analysis is only to say that our nature is non-duality. Non-duality, that means Advaita. My nature means what? That never changes. I am that, I am that, I am that, I am that. All of us can bring that experience of the sleep state in the waking state itself. We are not going into the sleep state. Going into the sleep state is tamas. Tamas means what? It is one of the gunas of the mind. Mind has got three gunas, sattva, rajas, and tamas. Tamas means this is how the world is. I'm only describing what is said in the Bhagavad Gita, that this is the nature of our world in which we find ourselves. Okay, so I'm digressing a bit, but Venkatesh, I think I've given you the answer.
Yeah, yes. No, I just read somewhere that they read also. I mean, scientifically they have seen that somebody can see the dream while dreaming.
Oh yes, that's also possible.
Yeah, I mean it happened. It's a very rarest scenario.
It is a rare, but people can dream that they're dreaming.
While they watch, like in the waking state, how we are using our various gyanendriyas and all to physically the happening and all that. Then the similar way during the dream itself, they can physically see. I mean, what they're dreaming actually. That's what I. So that's why I just had a doubt how things are happening actually.
No. You see, it is very simple. You see, when you are daydreaming, what is the meaning of daydreaming? You close your eyes and then let your mind run. That is what is daydreaming. You let your mind run anywhere. It will run into all directions. So if you're daydreaming, That means you are there as the seer of the dream, seer of your dream of the day.
Yep.
Similarly, the same self is there, which is seeing the dream. So there is a dream sakshi. Sakshi means what? A seer of the dream. But what you are saying is that there is in a dream there can be another dreamer who is seeing the dream. That is
Yeah, I'm talking about the dreamer
what
saying
you are
that it's a very specific.
it's possible. It's possible.
It's a very specific. No, they have observed scientifically. I was just seeing. I mean, this is another thing. What it is saying, trying to say that the waker and dreamer and sleeper, all three different, because the dreamer, he can. Not that he like what we say the dream is basically in the waking state. I remember as if I have seen the dream, but the dreamer himself, he can see the dream. That's a very unique scenario actually. So
Okay.
yeah, that's the like a waker type.
This I have another question here from Babu. It says, what is the difference between dream state and the deep state of mind? That means sleep state of mind. See, deepest state of mind is the deep sleep. Deep sleep is a state. The difference, what is the difference? The difference is the mind is in a passive condition. That means mind is not at all active.
Deep sleep.
In deep sleep. So in deep sleep, the mind is not active. But what they say is there are some books in Panchadasi itself, somewhere in one of the chapters, I think it's in the third chapter or something, where it says that the deep sleep state is also a state where the mind is with causal thought. There is a vritti, but it is a subtlest vritti.
I want to sleep. Huh?
That is in the sleep state, there is a vritti. There is a vritti what? The vritti is, I don't experience anything. That is one vritti. One vritti means one thought. I don't experience anything. The second vritti is what? I experience sukha. I am blissful.
Yeah.
Both these thoughts are there. Therefore, we in the waking state, when we get up in the morning, what do we say? I had a good sleep.
Yeah.
Because you remember that state of having a blissful sleep, a happy sleep. So there is some sakshi, there is some principle which is experiencing that thought of the sleep state, and that thought is what? I am happy. That is where Shankaracharya, uses that sleep state. No Vedanta study is complete without the analysis of the sleep state. Right in the introduction of Mandukya Upanishad, Shankaracharya says this. Your Vedantic study is not complete till you have understood the sleep state completely. And what is that complete study? The complete study is, I am there, but there is no world. I exist as a non-dual self. Advaitam is the reality. Advaitam is the reality. This is the fact of this universe. We have studied dream, waking, and sleep and all that. But this is only the side portion of Vedanta, which is anatma. Waking, dream, and sleep is only anatma. It is not atma. So the one thing is, you have to say, I exist in sleep and I am the non-dual self. Why do we say non-dual? This word non-dual, Advaitam, is extremely powerful word. To understand this word is not easy. Because unless you are Atma, you will not understand this word. So as Atma, pure self, You have to realize that all this universe of waking, dream, and sleep is nothing but it is a projection from that self only, from that Atma only. It is only, and this projection, this experience is there. And this experience of waking, dream, and sleep state together is called as Maya. See, many people, even last week, there was a question from Vishal about what is this Maya? What is this Maya? This whole experience of ours, of this entire world, of all our experience from birth to death, all this is what, according to Vedanta, it is something which cannot be explained. There is no, and that is what is called as the Shakti of that Atma. That Shakti, we in Vedanta we say Maya Shakti belongs to Brahman. But what is that Shakti? That Shakti means it is the power. That power, it exists in that Atma or Brahman. I'm going in very, very deep topic, but this is the truth. This is the fact, which is explained in Mandukya. I'm just giving it to you in a very simple way. So this power of this whole universe is there in that self. And once you realize that this whole universe is nothing but that power, it is that Maya, it is that magic power, then you will understand the nature of the world and the nature of the self. This is how beautifully Shankaracharya describes in the introduction portion of Mandukya. No, he has not gone into the other chapters and all that. But he takes it so deep. Vedanta can be understood at different mind levels. You can understand it at a very deep level of your mind, or you can understand it slightly superficial. Okay, good. So all these questions are very interesting. And like I said, if you want to really understand the waking, dream, sleep, the only Upanishad, one Upanishad, which you have to, all of us who are the students of Vedanta here who are listening, you should make an effort to study Mandukya Upanishad.
Yeah.
Mandukya Upanishad, if you study correctly, there is no doubt that you will realize your true nature. No doubt, because it is there. For all of us, it is there. You see, we are all in the journey, but then we don't know when the journey gets completed and when the journey is not complete. Journey is not completed, many of us realize. I still have to realize something. I have to realize something. I have to know something. But when you do Mandukya, you reach a conclusion. And the conclusion is, I know what this Atma is. That's all. After that, there is nothing else. After that is only it is the entire experiences of world and life is nothing but just an appearance coming and going. Yeah, tomorrow will come. It will come and go. Again, day after tomorrow will come. Some experiences will come and go, but you will be firm with that knowledge of Atma. In that Atma, once you are anchored, then the whole world is nothing but it is an experience, but it will come and go. That's all. Okay, thank you. It's a long discussion. We have had a very deep discussion today. Thank you. We'll see you next week.
Hari Om.
Hari Om. Thank you.
Hari Om, Hari Om.
Thank you.
Thank
Hari
you.
Om.
Thank
Thank
you.
you, sir.
Thank you. Namaste.
Thank you.